Today, we are going to talk about family. And, at first, this might seem like a really basic topic. However, it's actually a bit complicated because different cultures and different people have different ideas about what family is and who is family. Also, legal definitions of the word family can be quite different from the way that we use the word family in daily life. So what I'm going to talk about today is how I, as an American, use the word family. I'm also going to talk about the words relative and family member. And finally, I'm going to explain the most common English words that we use to describe family members and relatives. Okay, let's start with the word family. When I say family, it can mean maybe two different things. First, family is a group of people who are related to you by blood or by marriage. This family is very large, and it probably includes people who you have never met before, and people who died long before you were born. When you marry someone, their family becomes your family in law. In law means as a result of marriage. And the word family can also be used to describe the family members who you live with, and often, but not always, have the closest relationship with. So, as a child, when my teacher would ask me, "How many people are in your family?" I would reply, 4, because I have a mother, a father, and a brother. But now that I'm married, it's a little bit more difficult to answer that question. If my wife and I had children, it would be easier to answer that question because I could say that my family is me, my wife, and our children. But because we don't have children, we don't really have our own family, so it's not so clear how to answer that question. Is my family me, my mother, my father, my brother, and my wife? Or is it just me and my wife? The way that I would answer that question basically depends on why I think they are asking me the question and what type of answer they expect to receive. But basically, this second definition of family is just the people who you live with and or care about the most. But again, this can be very different in different cultures and for different people. Some people live with their grandparents and consider their grandparents to be in this smaller definition of family. Other people would not include their grandparents in this definition of family. So yeah, basically we have big family, including everyone who is related to you by blood or by marriage, and then we have a smaller family who are the people that we interact with the most in our daily lives, probably live with, and care about the most. But now, let's talk about family members and relatives. To me, a family member is a person who is included in that second, smaller definition of family, a person who we live with or care about the most. Relatives are all of the other people who are included in that first, larger definition of family. So basically, anyone who is related to you by blood or by marriage is a relative. Now, finally, we're going to learn about the most common words for relatives and family members. If you are still watching this video, you already know mother, father, brother, sister. So I'm going to skip those and start with some more advanced words. First, we have parents. Parents are mothers and fathers. Then we have siblings. Siblings are brothers and sisters. I have one older brother, so I have one sibling. My father has 6 brothers and sisters, so he has 6 siblings. The siblings of your parents are aunts and uncles. The sisters of your mother or father are your aunts. The brothers of your mother or father are your uncles. In some languages, there are different words for aunts and uncles, depending if they are your mother's siblings or your father's siblings, depending if they are older or younger. But that is not the case in English. In English, all of the female siblings of your mother or your father are your aunts, and all of the male siblings of your mother or your father are your uncles. And all of the children of your aunts and uncles are your cousins. So if one of my uncles has a daughter, she is my cousin. If one of my uncles has a son, he is also my cousin. It doesn't matter whether they are male or female, older than you or younger than you. The children of your aunts and uncles are all your cousins. Your parents are your grandparents. Your grandparents' sisters are your great aunts, and your grandparents' brothers are your great uncles. Your grandparents' parents are your great grandparents, and your great grandparents' parents are your great great grandparents. If your brothers or sisters have children, those children are your nephews or your nieces. The sons are your nephews, the daughters are your nieces. If your cousins have children, those children are your first cousins once removed. But honestly, I would probably never say that. I would usually just say my cousin's son or my cousin's daughter. Your husband or wife is called your spouse. And again, anyone who becomes your family as a result of your marriage to your spouse is called an in-law. So your spouse's mother is your mother-in-law. Your spouse's father is your father-in-law. Your spouse's sister is your sister-in-law. And your spouse's brother is your brother-in-law. You can also say grandmother-in-law, cousin-in-law, etc. But honestly, I would probably just say my wife's grandmother or my wife's cousin. And when you want to talk about everyone in your spouse's family, you can say either my in-laws or my family-in-law. If one of your parents has a child with someone who is not your mother or not your father, that child is your half-brother or half-sister. If your father or mother marries a new spouse, that person becomes your stepmother or your stepfather. If your stepmother or stepfather already had a child before marrying your mother or your father, that child becomes your stepbrother or your stepsister. And finally, if you get divorced from your husband or your wife, they become your ex-husband or your ex-wife. So yeah, that's all for today. I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching.